everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. How are you? Today's video we're going to be making a homemade apple pie, which is very simple, easy, elegant, and so fun to make. I'm going to take you through all the step-by-step process of making a homemade pie and all the technical things on why we do the things we do when it comes to pie making. So let's get all of our fresh picked apples and ready to bake some pie. If you're new here, I do all kind of homemaking content and mama content. But first, we need to go back in time and make sure we make our pie crust. I like to do this usually the night before. That way it has a long time to chill. So basically, I'm gonna tell you the secret right now to making pie dough is keeping your butter cold. I will leave all of the exact measurements down below in the description, so don't forget to look there if you're trying to recreate this recipe. We're gonna do flour, we're gonna do sugar. The reason why we add sugar, it's not gonna make your pie dough sweet. It's actually gonna encourage browning. So after we add our sugar, we are going to add our salt. Every baked good or pastry really needs to have salt. That gives it good flavor, so we will be doing that. And I am going to grate some frozen butter. This is very important. You want to make sure your butter is frozen. This is really honestly the key to working with pie dough and making it a lot more simple and easy to work with, is making sure that the butter is cold, very cold. You want to keep the dough cold at all times, or else it's very hard to work with. It's very sticky, and you know, butter once it melts is just not fun to work with. So that's why you want to make sure you're keeping the pie dough cold at all times and not overworking it. That way it's so much easier to work with and shape. Okay, so now I'm going to incorporate the cold frozen butter into my pie dough mixture, and I am going to now cut my other butter into bigger cubes. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's gonna give your pie dough flaky layers of butter, which is very important because you want to make sure you have a nice airy flaky pie dough. So I'm going to use my hands to incorporate the little grated pieces of butter, and you want it to be more of a crumble texture and really incorporate that. And then we will move on to incorporating our little cubes of butter. That way you can have different sizes. I want to break them up, not too small. You want to keep these fairly large. So I probably am crumbling each cube like 1 or 2 times, because again, you want the different layers of the flaky pie dough. So just keep these chunks pretty large, and that's okay if you see a lot of chunks. It's all good. It will all come together. So if you are trying to incorporate with your hands and it's not enough, I always add a little bit of ice water until it is completely together as one dough. It's okay if it's a little bit chunky and not super smooth, because that's just kind of the way pie dough is. So you just want to make sure you're adding water as needed. You don't want to add too much water, and you want to do it pretty slowly. The reason why is you don't want to overhydrate your dough, so I keep mashing it together using my hands and just slowly taking my time to incorporate the dough and making it in one ball. And then I also add a little bit of water and take out what is already together. This way, again, you don't overhydrate and you are able to get all of the dough from the bowl. And then after that, I just want to put it in the freezer. I am using a pastry bag. I found this at Rayleigh's. Life changer. It is a game changer for baking pastries, or really any kind of baking. I've even used it to store food, like so it doesn't dry out in the fridge. I love it. You could probably get it on Amazon. I'll leave a link if I can find it on Amazon. I'm sure you can. But I love it. I just zip it up, and that way it's all ready to go. And then the next day is when we went apple picking and got the apples. That way we can make our fresh apple pie. Also, just to let you know, you don't have to do it overnight. You could do it a few hours ahead of time. You just want to make sure it's cold. And also, when you are incorporating the water, make sure it's ice water, very cold. Because again, the secret to pie dough is really just keeping your dough very cold. Okay, so now we are on to the next day where we are making our pie. And the kids, of course, wanted to get involved because they just love to be involved. We got a apple core / peeler recently off of Facebook Market, and I don't know, you guys, like I've been having the hardest time getting this to actually work. I'm not sure if we're just doing it wrong or if mine is just like defective or just broken. But it didn't end up working, and I didn't have time to really like finagle with it. So I ended up just hand peeling, and we just ate that apple, which, you know, they're pink lady apples. I did not mind. They were really good. So I am just peeling apples by hand, and sometimes I enjoy doing this. It's kind of therapeutic for me. And then other times I find it annoying if I have to do potatoes or apple peeling by hand, but it all just depends on the day. So this day I really didn't mind doing it, and it was fun. While the kids just ran circles around me and played and made my house a mess, but it's all okay. It was fun. I was also cooking a whole bunch of things while filming this video and making this apple pie. So I was just busy in the kitchen and just watching my kids just have fun around me, which is always a good time. Once we peel our apples, wash them, all of that, I am going to now slice each apple into pretty good apple slices. You can dice them if you want, but I just do slices, no problem. And then after that, you are going to put it in a bowl. And then now we are going to add all of our ingredients to make our pie dough filling. So this is pretty simple. I have seen some more complicated recipes, but this one is really simple. You don't have to reduce it on the stove or anything. I found that this really works well for me. So once you have all your peeled and cut apple slices, you want to put them in the bowl. And then we are going to add cornstarch, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and apple cider vinegar. So simple. I just love throwing everything in a bowl and then mixing it with my hands, and you're good to go. Now the reason why we're going to add apple cider vinegar is for the acidic, as well as vanilla. Vanilla is just for a little bit of sweetness and flavor. The cornstarch is going to be added for our thickener agent because apples or any fruit will release a whole bunch of liquids in the baking process. That's why some recipes call for reducing, but you just add the cornstarch and it's going to make your mixture a lot thicker and soak up all of that liquid so it's thick and it's not runny in your pie, because you do not want a soggy pie. But you want to make sure you're adding a little bit of apple cider vinegar. It gives a great touch to the apple pie. It gives that acidity that you really kind of need to cut all of the sweet. So good. And of course, add your spices as needed and as you want. Add salt, because again, everything needs salt. When you're adding sweet, you always want to add salty as well in any baking dessert. And then I just mix it up, and then we are going to put that in the fridge to chill. And now it's time to deal with our pie dough. So we let our pie dough sit overnight. Again, you don't have to. You could do it for a few hours and it should be fine. And I am beating it with a rolling pin, not literally beating it. I am just softening those butter layers, and it just makes it a little bit easier to roll out. I also like that this bag has the dimensions and all of the template work for how big you need your pie dough to be, which I really enjoy, and it's non-stick, which is really nice as well. So I really enjoy that. And now I'm just kind of pre-shaping my dough for my pie dough plate. And this, you don't have to do this. You could just put it straight in and then trim it, but I just like to give it a little trim before, but again, not necessary. Just something that I find makes it a little bit easier to put it in the plate. Okay, so once I trimmed the little sides off, I am going to take my rolling pin and roll it backwards with the dough on top. If you're comfortable, you could just pick it up, but you just want to be careful. And also remember to work pretty fast, because you do not want your pie to be overworked, as well as you don't want it to heat up. So I'm going to place it into the pie dough plate, and now I'm going to just make sure that it is all around the bottom edges. You want to make sure it's tucked in there nice and good, and that everything is in place, because you don't want it to end up ripping throughout the baking process or when you put the apples in. And now I'm going to trim around the edges and make sure it looks a little bit cleaner. We're going to be cleaning and baking kind of at the same time. And now I'm doing a little double fold with the edges. So it's just a little bit of a thicker crust at the top. So I'm just taking it and folding it over. Really simple, and just kind of pinching it together. This is gonna help us create a nice wave. You don't have to do this. This is just for pure like decoration and for like aesthetics, but I always do this with my pies. It just makes them look so pretty. I'm just taking my pointer finger and my thumb and my other pointer finger, and I'm just pinching while I put my other finger out. You guys can see. So I'm pushing one finger out with my other two fingers, I'm pushing it in. So you're making like a nice little wave effect in the pie dough. And it just creates a really nice crust all around. So I'm just doing that all around the pie dough, and that way it just looks nice and pretty. So again, you don't have to do this, but I just think it's a really fun touch for any pie to make a little design. And it's pretty simple. It probably sounds complicated, but it's easy. Just one finger out and then the other two fingers pushing in at the same time. Now my pie dough is starting to warm up here, and you can always stick it back in the fridge so it's a little bit easier to work with in the shape. Don't be afraid to do that. You could just stick it in for 10 minutes in the freezer or in the fridge real quick. And I am putting it back in the fridge. I did end up putting my pie dough back in the fridge for a little bit and then pulled it out, and it's nice and set. I am putting my apples that we already put all of our ingredients in for the filling. I'm intentionally putting them, kind of placing them the way I want them, to make sure there's an apple in every corner. So every single bite you get an apple, because you want to make sure it's full of apples. And then I'm just dumping the rest in there, not intentionally, just kind of spreading them around. Wherever there's room, I'm placing apples, and yada yada, so forth and so on. It's very simple. You can pour the juices in if you want. I ended up doing that a little bit later. And yeah, so this way you'll have a really nice filling. Dotting my pie with butter. This makes sure that you have like little pockets of butter, and it's just so delicious this way. And I love doing that. So I just cut a little bit of butter and then just place it all around the pie, and then you get little surprises of pockets of butter. So good. And then now I'm going to start working on the pie dough design. We're gonna do a simple woven kind of beginner's design for the top. If you guys want more intricate designs, maybe in the future I could do some, but we're gonna keep this one pretty simple, as this is a beginner's pie dough recipe video. And I'm doing the same thing. I am kind of whacking it to get the butter softened up so I can roll it out. And then I am taking a pizza cutter. You could take a normal knife. It doesn't have to be a pizza cutter, but this just makes the process a little bit more simple. And for some reason, to be honest, I just like using this thing. I find it so satisfying. And I am just rolling it out, and then now I'm cutting off all of the edges that are just, you know, not clean. And we're just kind of prepping this area to cut out our little ribbons of pie dough so we can put it on top, as well as do the woven design. Now, this does not have to be perfect by any means. You can get fancy, you can use a ruler. I've seen people use rulers and stuff like that, but this is like not what I'm trying to do. I just want to create a good, beautiful pie. Like, it doesn't have to be so intricate. I don't use a ruler for baking. Usually I just kind of eyeball it. And again, it does not have to be perfect. Your family will love it regardless. It's going to be delicious. So don't even worry about it. But if you want to use a ruler, like, go for it, be my guest. Have fun. But yeah, over here we don't do all of that. But it turned out really good anyway. So don't feel like it has to be perfect and be symmetrical. I kind of just eyeball it and measure the dough to make sure it fits my pie plate. And I am just making sure that I have enough, and I have a little scrap pile that I'm putting all of the scraps in, so if I need to make any more ribbons, then I will do that, or little stripes of pie dough, then I'll do that. And I let my kids play with all the extra when I was done. They actually made their own version of apple pie, which was really cute. They took all of the apple peels and stuff like that and put it in a little dish, and they did their own little apple pie dessert, and it was so cute. And they were doing like little weaving as well, so it makes for a good sensory activity too. And if your kids want to get involved, that's a great little way to do it, is giving them the scraps. And they had so much fun with it, and they were so proud. They even put it in their play kitchen and put it in the oven. It was so cute. Anywho, yeah, so now I am going to make sure that we are doing an under over. So the first thing I'm doing is just laying the pie dough down. Now we'll clean it up later. You don't have to really worry about it fitting exactly. And again, just have fun with it. It does not have to be perfect. I'm just laying down the first layer, and then you want to make sure that it's not permanent, because you want to be able to do the under over. So every other one, it's going to be under and then over, under, over. It's very simple. And yeah, and I actually did mess up in doing this under over weaving process, but I did fix it later. So if you're wondering why one of them is not under like it should be, I went and fixed it before I put it in the oven. But again, just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It will be really good and delicious no matter what. That's all I do for that. And I just continue all the way through until the whole pie is covered. I am going to crack open an egg and beat it, and then I'm going to use my pastry brush and put it on all of the areas that there's pie dough, and this really encourages browning, so you get a nice beautiful crust. And then I set my oven to 350 and put it in the oven for about 60 minutes or so. Just keep your eye on it. You want to make sure it's nice and golden brown. And yeah, and there you go, you guys. You have a beautiful apple pie that you can serve by itself or with ice cream. It is so good with vanilla ice cream. Our favorite ice cream is Haagen-Dazs, and it's just so good. So good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, let me know down below. Let me know if you guys would like more baking videos. I love to share my little baker tips and techniques with you all, and I also love to see when you guys recreate a recipe. So let me know. Tag me on IG if you have an IG, and let me know what you guys recreate. If you tried it, do you like it? All of that good stuff, and I will share your creations on my story. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.